What's up, guys? Rob here from Shonen Showdown, and first thing I want to say is, wow, we are now at 21,000 subscribers. I mean, this is just amazing. You guys, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, believing in what we have going on here, and just really outright enjoying the content. I'm seeing a lot of comments of people really enjoying what we're bringing, and that's all I could have ever wanted, to be honest. I love doing this, so I will continue to do this. I have so many more videos planned, but for right now, it's time I pay my dues to the JoJo community, because they've been asking me for a long time to talk about some JoJo, so I am going to talk about some JoJo today. Today, we are ranking all JoJo characters from parts 1 through 5. We're going to see weakest to strongest. Also, this is going to be more than just strength. We're also going to have to include wits here, because obviously some JoJos only had stands and others had hamon, so we have to even the playing field a little bit. Alright, so now we got to start off with the weakest JoJo. This one hurts, but it's the truth. Jonathan Joestar gets my pick for the weakest JoJo out of these 5. Now hear me out. Obviously, the Dio Joestar rivalry started here. It originated here. The Speedwagon situation originating here as well, Zeppeli as well, Hamon being introduced. That's great, but when it comes to wits, we didn't really get to see much. Now, strength wise, he's arguably the best Hamon user between him and Joseph, but I didn't really get to see too much of Jonathan to really put him in the upper echelon with those top JoJos. I can't do it. Not saying he's bad. He had a great showing against Dio, but he wasn't able to finish him off, and we see the impact that had later on for the next generations. So just for that reason, I gotta say Jonathan is the weakest Joestar. Now next up, this one was even tougher, because I believe this particular JoJo had an incredible stand, arguably one of the best stands out of the 5. But we have to understand something. We have to look at the villains that they had to face. We also have to look at the amount of help that they had with them and how much that played in a role of their success. I'm going with Josuke from part 4. Why? Yes, we understand it. Crazy Diamond is incredible. It can restore objects and people back to the original state. Do you guys understand how cheese that is? That is one of the best stands that we have seen so far, at least in the animated versions of JoJo. But we have to also come to terms of who he had available to him. Listen, when it came to his fight against Kira towards the end, Okuyasu, his stand can erase space. That is an incredible ability. He needed that. Killer Queen, again, has an ability called Sheer Heart Attack. We see Kira use this, but who took the battle head on? It was not Josuke, it was Jotaro, who I will get to later, and he held the fort down. Again, we have Kira also, and this is arguable because we don't know necessarily if Killer Queen is a Requiem stand or not, even though I believe that Killer Queen is. The Bites the Dust ability, super overpowered, super cheese. Josuke wasn't the one that had to deal with it. It was actually Hayato. So we're seeing multiple occasions where Josuke is not really being the center of the battles. He's not really being the center of leadership. And it's not that he's trash. I just think that his stand boosted him a little bit too much for me. Yes, and I understand. Listen, Yoshikage Kira is no scrub. But when we talk about Dio, or we talk about Diavolo, it brings into question, did Josuke really have to deal with somebody that bad? I know it sounds crazy, but let's understand something. Kira was a serial killer, but he really just wanted to lay low. He didn't want to be bothered. Diavolo, on the other hand, would do everything in his power to get rid of anybody that found any type of lead on his identity. These are two different stand abilities, two different villains. So I just think that also leaves a little dent in Josuke's legacy. Still amazing, but not the best. Next. Now listen, y'all. Relax. Chill. Because what I'm about to say might rub you guys the wrong way, but we have to understand something. We are going through these characters with strength and wits. We are looking at two separate factors and we are weighing them together. Next up, I have Giorno Giovanna from Golden Wind, Part 5. Listen to me. Yes, Gold Experience Requiem is the strongest stand ability out of the 5. So when it comes to strength, Giorno with the power boost does have the highest grade of power that we have seen out of these 5. 2 claps. That's great. But we really have to boil it down and look at what he was able to do during his part. Where I will give Giorno credit is that Diavolo is a tougher enemy than Kira. That's why I'm putting him over Josuke for me. And I also believe that Josuke had a better stand. Now we know that the Golden Experience stand can manipulate life and put life into inanimate objects. So that's cheese all around. But I won't say, in at least its base state, that it's more OP than Josuke's Crazy Diamond. So I'm also going to give Giorno credit there as well. Also, when we talk about Giorno's intuition, he's arguably the top. Arguably the top. But when it came to his leadership, I believe that Bruno Bucciarati was really running the show. Giorno was just the MVP of the team, but Bruno Bucciarati was the coach. Also, I believe that Giorno would not have been able to defeat Diavolo if he did not have the opportunity to boost his stand into a Requiem stand. That, to me, speaks volumes about not only how powerful Emperor Crimson is, but it also speaks to the fact that Giorno, although he was very incredibly smart and he worked well in teams, I can't put him in the top 2 JoJos strictly because the other JoJos have excelled in those areas where Giorno was just great. The other JoJos I'm about to name would never let somebody like Abakio look down on them and not hear what they have to say, because we know Giorno was probably just as smart as Bucciarati, if not smarter. But because he didn't have that full leadership skills, it put his team in jeopardy. And they almost lost if it was not for Golden Experience Requiem. And we have to acknowledge that fact. Secondly, I have Joseph Joestar from Part 2. In terms of strength, he is completely outmatched by Giorno Giovanna. We know this. But when it comes to a balance of strength and wits, Joseph Joestar is by far the wittiest of the 5. Listen, when you're talking about fighting against pillarmen that have completely outclassed you in Hamon, when you're talking about fighting against an ultimate life form in cards who cannot die, Joseph found a way to get the job done. All the cards were literally stacked against him. We have to acknowledge this. In his fight against Strizo, he defeated him with tricks and reflections. Strizo completely outmatched Joseph in Hamon, but it did not matter. When we talk about his fight against Wamu, Caesar got destroyed by Wamu, and Caesar was no scrub. He was a beast with Hamon and his bubbles, but it was not enough. Joseph had to outsmart him and literally made Wamu blow himself up just by using his wits, not even his Hamon. When it comes to his battle against cars, put cars in a volcano, shot cars all the way up to the sky, sky high. Y'all remember when Krillin said, wow, yo, he's way up there. He was probably talking about cars. We have to acknowledge that Joseph, coming from where he came from, was at the biggest disadvantage out of all of the JoJos. He had the biggest disadvantage. And he had one of the tallest hills to climb. And he did it. And last but not least, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I'm about to say. The boy, the beast. Jotaro Kujo is my pick for the best JoJo all around. Listen to me. Not only is Star Platinum just an amazing stand, I mean, the attack power it has, the attack precision, the speed, The fact that it is a perfect counter to Dio's The World Stand speaks volumes to me. But that is not why I am picking Jotaro to be number 1. Jotaro is number 1 strictly for the fact that he is the X Factor. Jotaro is that guy. Listen, any situation that any of his crewmates were in, it was always, listen, give the ball to Jotaro. Let him work. Let's see what he can do. And he delivered every single time. Jotaro was virtually unbeatable in a 1v1. Even when he had assistance from his teammates, he was always the X Factor. He was always landing the finishing blow. And why was he doing this? Because Jotaro gained the trust of his teammates better than anybody else, any of the other JoJos. We have to understand this, and this is the reason why I couldn't put Giorno at number 1, because Giorno had to deal with Abakio questioning his movements, all types of things like that. You think Jotaro would let that happen? Jotaro made sure that everybody knew what type of time he was on. No matter who he was fighting, whether it was Steely Dan or Darby or Dio, it does not matter. He was always there. If Kakuin got knocked out of commission, if Abdul got knocked out of commission, even if it was Polnareff, he still was the X Factor. And that's what puts Jotaro above all of the rest. So I get it. Listen, we know that Giorno is arguably the strongest out of all 5. He probably is the strongest out of all 5. But when it came to wits and leadership and just being that guy, Giorno was not really there. Jotaro was. Joseph was not there. Jotaro was. But you guys let me know down in the comments section below, because I know the Giorno fans are going to come for me. I understand it. Listen, this is just my opinion. I want to hear your opinions. We like to debate on this channel, so that's what we're going to do in the comment section down below. And thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It's been incredible the past couple of months. It's just, it's insane. There's nothing else I can really say other than thank you so much. And I can't wait to bring you guys more content. And with that, I'll see you next time. Peace.